Hello and welcome to Cedar Creek Homestead. I hope you're having a wonderful day today. Sure do appreciate you watching us today. And today's subject is about staying cool on the homestead. What would you do if you were suddenly without electricity? How would you make it at your residence? Would you be able to survive? And we've experienced that a few times this summer, just for a few hours at a time, but it's kind of tough to survive. So I'm going to show you what my little dog did when it was hot one day, and he does it all the time actually, but this particular day we happened to get him on film. And here's Foxy.
Are you hot, buddy?
Foxy's hot and he's trying to cool off, so he's sitting in his water trough. Is that your hillbilly swimming pool there, Foxy, sitting in front of the water cooler? Are you hot, buddy? Are you hot? It's hot out there working, ain't it? Gonna cool off? Alright, well, as you can tell, Foxy's figured out how to be cool in his hillbilly swimming pool. But anyway, another thing I want you to do today is hang on to the end of this video. Stay in with us to the end of the video. And my brother, Earl, my twin brother Earl, is going to be on the program today. And he's going to share with you his tragedy on the homestead. So hang on, and you won't want to miss this here. My brother Earl, twin brother Earl, is not exactly like me. But anyway, here it comes. But anyway, I'll give you some ideas how to stay cool. Now this is kind of a serious thing. There's blackouts going on in the country today. We've had storms, lots of storms here in Oklahoma. And on several occasions, as I've already mentioned, our electric was off. Now, if you didn't start to spring out with air conditioning, you would probably be just fine. But if you're used to air conditioning, and then all of a sudden, now it is hot July weather, it's getting hotter every day here. We have not, though, let me tell you, we have not hit 100 here where we are here in Gore, Oklahoma. We have not hit 100 degrees. So I thank the Lord for that. But we've had one day, the heat index got up to 115 degrees. We were like 98 degrees real temperature, but then the heat index was 115. So it was very miserable. Today, I think we've gotten up to like 92. But with the humidity, it's still hot. This morning, we had a storm come through, and it rained quarter to half an inch, and then after it got through, the sun popped out, and that old humidity just started climbing right up. So it gets very hot. And you know, the old timers around here, my grandparents and people like them, they didn't have air conditioning. My folks grew up with no air conditioning. They survived without air conditioning, and they just raised the windows. When it was real hot in the summer, well, they went outside and stayed. So I'm like, what would you do if you didn't have air conditioning? Could you survive with no air conditioning? Have you thought about what you would do in a long-term situation with no electric? Summer before last, our area was hit not far from here with some very strong straight line winds, and it left a path like what you would think would have been a tornado, and it went across the river over here. Well, they were without electricity for about a week across the river, and one of my neighbors just right up the road right here passed away, just a few years older than me, had a heart attack and died. And so during that week of them being without electricity, they had his funeral over there at the Assembly of God Church, and they had no electric. The old preacher, they had a very old preacher that preached the funeral, and he said that he had never preached with a candle light. But there was no air conditioning, and it was hot in that building. They don't have windows and stuff, you know. So most homes and churches and schools and facilities are not made nowadays to make it without air. So if you were going to build you a new home, I would suggest thinking about building it in case you had to do without electricity for a while. You know, I'm not out to scare everybody, because you hear of EMPs, you know, the threat of EMPs. You hear that there may be practice in rolling blackouts across the U.S. to kind of see how people are prepared. They don't need to practice it here, because we've lost enough electric this year to handle it and make it. But anyhow, staying cool on your place. My line of work that I do, besides being a cattle rancher, homesteader, gardener here, is I am into heating and air conditioning. That is what I have done for over 30 years. And I own my own company. I'm not telling you this to get business, because we are so busy right now in this hot weather. I come home, I change out of my work uniform, and I put on my overalls. And for over 30 years now, I have done heating and air conditioning. And people get very, very cranky if they don't have air conditioning. And I just don't know what people would do. My dad used to tell stories. The old home place is just right, not very far over here. It's all gone now, but they would actually sleep in the yard. And they would bring their mattresses and lay in the yard, whatever, and just sleep outside. And you know, if a storm came up, of course they had to rush everything inside, but that's how they made it. And my grandparents never had air conditioning. Well, I say that. My grandpa that lived over here, he had a water cooler. And if you're familiar with those, some call them swamp coolers, but they have like a straw type mat on the side, and you can put water in it. In the bottom of it, it has an area for a reservoir of water, or you could hook it up to your faucet, and the water would pump up over this straw-like mat, and as the fan was blowing, it would suck air over that and would lower the air temperature 10 to 15 degrees real easy like. You know, if a storm's coming and there's rain, you'll feel the temperature a lot of times drop, and that's because you have rain-cooled air being blown over you. Well, the same thing with the swamp cooler, and that's what my grandparents had over here. And the last year that my grandfather was alive, the motor went out on the water cooler, and they decided to get a air conditioner, a window air conditioner. So they put that in the living room, and I went to visit them one day, and the doors was open, the windows was open, and they had the window air conditioner going, and they only turned it on in the hottest part of the day. Now they were getting on up in their 80s, getting, you know, on up in years, and they would get hot, and so they'd have the window air conditioner on. I said, Grandpa, you know, of course I had taken heating and air conditioning, but I said, Grandpa, I just was taking it actually at the time, but I said, you know, you're supposed to close the doors and windows when you use a window air conditioner or any kind of air conditioning other than a water cooler. A water cooler, you would open the doors and windows, no big deal. Well, Grandpa said, well, we're afraid someone would drive up in the yard. They lived out here in the country, and they sat on their porch most of the time and under the shade trees, but when they were inside, they were afraid someone would drive up and they wouldn't hear them. So they left their doors and windows open and ran the air conditioner. And I have to say, it was halfway decent in their living room there, but at night they turned it off, and they just learned, they had always been used to it. So if you were used to not making it with air conditioning, you'd probably be fine. In my line of work, like I say, I'm not telling you that I do heating and air to get you to call me for services. That's not the purpose of this YouTube channel. In fact, my YouTube channel is a way for me to relax and share my sideline stuff, my hobbies. I like to garden, I like to homestead, I like to prep a little bit, you know, putting stuff back. I like raising cattle is one of my really things I love to do. I love to go to church. I have a lot of things besides owning my own company, so I like to share that here with you. Some you know, by the way, I want to say thank you to our subscribers. We've got several new subscribers this past week. Hey, I sure appreciate it. I hope you love the channel, but I'm not here to grow my business as much as I am here just to have fun with YouTube, and I love watching other people's videos. I love this YouTube community. It's been fun and great, and I have some of you that have watched from basically day one you comment and stuff. You know, that just blesses me in a great way, and so I'm loving this here. But I'm telling you about the heating and air to share some stories with you. But I have had folks before that was without air that, I mean, you think they're going to die, and they'll actually get mad if they don't have air conditioning. And sometimes they'll call and lie, you know, and say they have health conditions and things when they really don't. And people could really make it a lot more than what they think they can. But one problem is your homes aren't built. Most people's homes don't have a lot of windows. They don't have screens that they can, where they can raise the windows. They're just not set up for that. So it makes it difficult if your air does quit. Some people, even if they have a lot of windows, have been used to air conditioning so long they just can't make it. So I understand that point. But there may come a time, there may be a day, that you don't have air conditioning. And there's some simple, little, small ideas that I have. I have some I'm going to share with you that are bigger ideas. But just today, a few little things that would help you stay cool. And one of those are an old fan like this. I call these funeral fans. And boy, they feel good. And we were in Eureka Springs, Arkansas this year. We took our first vacation in many years, at least I'd say 12 years for a vacation, and we went up there, and in there at the Great Passion Play in Eureka Springs, Arkansas. I don't much care for the rest of the town. It's kind of gotten hippie-ish, is my opinion, but I do like the Passion Play. And we went over there, it's the second time for me to see it in my lifetime, and they had these fans in their store. My wife bought several of these and gave to some of the ladies in the church. You know, women, they go through periods in their life where they get hotter than normal. That's all I'm going to say about it, but it's hard to keep them cool, so they'll sit there and do this here. But you know, if you were sitting on the back porch, no electric, and you were trying to stay cool and you didn't have nothing else to do, you know, I would do a little bit of this to stay cool. It's not a big deal. But that's one way to stay cool, is these little old fans. Another way to stay cool, I bought this for my wife at Tractor Supply, and it's got a little fan that turns there. And as you squirt this and you're using the fan, it'll blow a little cool mist on you. And it takes a battery, or two batteries actually, double A's go in this thing. But this is kind of a handy little device. If you're trying to stay cool, you could probably even set this beside your bed, turn the fan on. You might not have that cool mist, but you would at least put this on your nightstand and have a little air movement as you're trying to sleep. In fact, my worst time of trying to stay cool is when I'm sleeping. I love to stay cool when I'm sleeping. I wouldn't have a problem coming out here and sleeping on the back porch. My wife's afraid a bug or something would crawl up in the bed with you, or a snake or something like that, but you know, I wouldn't have a problem with it. Another thing that my wife has brought home, and I thought these were a gimmick, is frog togs. These little blue things. Now right now that's so stiff you can't do anything with it. But them frog togs, you wet that thing down and it gets soft, and you can put it around your neck. So another way, if you didn't have electric, it's another device that would work real good. I also have here on my porch when you've seen the video earlier of my little dog, he was sitting in front of a water cooler. Now it's not like the old-timey ones, but it's the same idea and the same principle. It sucks air in from the sides and blows it out here in the front. So you can hit a little button and it has a reservoir of water, and it will pump water up over that curtain and pull through and cool the air, and you get cold air. And the evaporative cooling just works very, very well. We'll sit back here on the back porch. We also have a fan out here on our back porch. Now I realize if we lost electricity, we would not have those two items. But if we lost our air conditioner, let's just say we had electricity, but the air conditioner, the compressor went out, whatever, and it was going to be a day or two, and if we needed to, right now I don't have any fans going right now, and it's in the low 90s, but it's comfortable right here on the back porch. I'm not sweating. I've got me a big old glass of iced tea, and it's just wonderful. But I'll go sometimes, someone won't have air, and I'll go to their home, and they'll have every door and window shut, and they ain't trying in no form or fashion to cool themselves off. And they'll be sitting there just sweating and having a terrible time, you know. And I'm thinking, why don't you at least open up a door or a window or something and get you some cool air in. But nonetheless, that keeps, that's job security, as they would say. It keeps me busy, it keeps me working. So anyway, I hope them little tidbits, there may be some things, you know, the little fan or frog togs. I don't know how these frog togs do it, but they really get cold. You can wrap it around your neck here. My wife done one the other day, and I put it around my neck, and she has bought some of these frog togs, but she says there's some off-brand ones at Walmart, and she's been going to pick up some of them. We don't know if they work as good, but anything to help keep you cool. And then this little spray bottle, and just any way that you can find to keep yourself cool in the event that you lose air conditioning or you lose electricity. And in this time we're living, folks, I think you should prepare for the worst, and you should hope for the best in the time we're living, because we're certainly living in some trying times. And I want to make a little update, just a quick update too, about talk to you for just a minute about food shortages, food prices. It appears that prices are going up on the food. Also, in our local store here, they have a shortage of canned vegetables, and it's my understanding that Walmart's over a big part of the country has had shortages, as well as other stores. We have a Harp's Grocery here in our town, and they have had signs up that there's a shortage of canned vegetables. Of course, anytime there's a shortage, some people panic and go crazy. My wife bought 2, I guess you call them cases the other day, or 4 cases, 2 of corn and 2 of green beans that she found somewhere, and she bought them, went ahead and got them, because she said there's a shortage and we need to stock our pantry, so she got that. But you know, buy up a few things and be prepared, because we're just not sure about all this. I know a lot of folks think because Trump's president that it's all going to be grand, and you know, I'm glad he's president. I'm all for Trump. I'm not hiding that at all. I'll just tell you, I'm for Trump. But Trump is not God. And unless man turns back to God, I think we're going to be in for more rude awakenings here in the future. So nonetheless, there's always been troubles and trials, as our country was founded on troubles and trials. So just to tell you, we've had some weird weather events, and you've heard of earthquakes and tornadoes, and now possible volcanoes out in California. You know, there's some rumors about that. Whether that's true, I don't know. Earthquakes out there. We've had earthquakes right here in Oklahoma. So I'm just telling you, it's best to prepare for the worst and pray. I'd say pray instead of just hope, but hope. You could say hope and pray for the best. But anyway, another thing that's been a concern is some have rumored that hay prices are going to skyrocket. I'm going to tell you, right here in our area, we have an abundance of hay. We had a lot of rain earlier. It was cool weather. It slowed down. A lot of the hay fields were flooded. Now they are growing and doing well. So I don't think there's going to be any kind of shortage here in Oklahoma where we are. There's going to be any shortage of regular hay. I would say there could be a shortage perhaps of alfalfa hay. You know, most can survive without having the alfalfa hay, but there could be some shortage there. But most of the hay people around here that I've talked to, that once they were able to get out and cut, are doing very well, and they're expecting another cut. I'm going to update you right here what's going on in the corn harvest. Those that planted sweet corn, we have some farmers here that grow a bunch of sweet corn, and they sell the sweet corn all over. It goes all out, but they'll sell it right here locally for about a week, and you can go down and buy it by the bushel. And then after that, you can still buy it. There'll be folks setting up roadside stands. You can buy it in the groceries, whatever. You can put up corn on the cob, take it off, whatever you want to do with it. But there's lots of corn was usually being sold. But this year they had enough corn to sell one day at their store down here. They open up just for a week. They have a little location that they'll sell, and they was only able to open up for one day. We didn't buy any corn. We still have some corn in the freezer from last year, but there is a shortage of sweet corn. It got wiped out, flooded. They brush hogged that down, what was left of it, and cleaned up, and they replanted field corn. And the field corn is doing very well, but it's going to be a fall crop. And usually where they may plant sweet corn in the spring, a lot of their land, and then come back in behind and plant soybeans once they harvest it in early July or into June. They'll go come in with soybeans, something like that, and plant. Well, this year they can't. Some years they may even plant corn on corn, where they'll grow sweet corn or field corn, then they'll come in with another crop of corn. I've heard of that. I think that's really rare, but they do that a lot. Mostly around here they'll come back with soybeans or wheat and grow in there after they harvest the corn. But this year they've had to brush hog that down. It really has hurt our farmers. So the big time farmers, I'm talking the big ranchers and stuff, I'm sure all the gardeners such as myself, I have suffered a little loss in my garden because of that. But just to tell you, right here where we live, it's not time for panic, but it is time for concern and to be getting somewhat prepared. So I hope you're prepared, and I appreciate you watching today. And hello, I'm Earl, and sure am glad you're watching my twin brother's channel here, Howie. And I tell you, I appreciate you tuning and listening, and I've been wanting to get on his videos. I tell you, I watch his videos all the time, and I just enjoy watching Porch Time at Cedar Creek Homestead. And I tell you, I've been begging my brother, I'm like, brother, could I get on your program and share a life-changing event that happened to me at my homestead? Now, my neighbors think I'm kind of strange and a little bit weird, and because I'm kind of getting into some of this here homestead and stuff, but mostly I'm just growing a few maters and little squash and stuff like that around my homestead, like that okra. And I like to go crappie fishing every once in a while and fry me up a mess of crappie and eat me some that good old fried okra and some maters and stuff like that. So I've been getting in this little bit, and my brother kind of getting stingy with some of his tomatoes and stuff. So I said, you know, I'd like to get involved in that. But anyway, I got to tell you a story that happened to me the other day. Scared me half to death. It was a life-changing event. You've heard of those before. Well, I'll tell you what happened. I got me an old dog, and his name is, well, I hate to tell his name. He might not like his name shared on YouTube, on national television, so I'm just going to tell you. My old dog, I got him now. I just love him, and I love to pet him, you know, and everything. He's just spoiled rotten. But he will not stay in the backyard. And my neighbors, they got them a rabbit. They paid $150 for this rabbit. Can you believe that? With the tightness of money and all the things that's going on here in the world, and they spent $150 on a show rabbit. And they took that rabbit down, and they got him a blue ribbon with their bunny rabbit. A blue ribbon. So anyhow, they went to town one day, and my dog got out, and he come dragging up their bunny rabbit. It was all dirty, nasty looking, filthy, stiff, and stunk a little bit. And it just kind of, I like, what am I going to do? So I put my dog back in the backyard and fixed the fence, and so he couldn't get out again. And I took that bunny rabbit, cleaned her up, took a wash rag, washed the dirt off of it, and I went back over to my neighbor's house and I put it back in the pen. Shut the little door and waited there in my backyard watering my maters, taking care of things, pulling little weeds out and stuff. You know what you homesteaders have to do from time to time. And I heard my neighbor pull up. And the little neighbor lady, she went back there and she, I heard her scream. Ah! Ah! And so I eased over there to the fence and I said, neighbor, what's ailing you over there? And she says, well, my bunny rabbit, it died the other day. And she said, I buried it in the backyard. And now it's back in its pen. I tell you, it was a life-changing event. And I appreciate you watching today, and thanks so much for all your words of encouragement, and all of our subscribers. If you haven't subscribed yet, we certainly would appreciate it if you'll click the little bell out there besides the subscribe icon. It will give you notifications when I update a video. I'm trying to do at least a video every week. Actually trying to do one every other day. I would do one every day if I had time. I'm loving putting up videos, but I do appreciate you watching. May God richly bless you, and we'll see you next week here on Porch Time.